Ever have one of those days where you get to the end, you feel absolutely wiped out, but when you try to think about what you actually did, you draw a blank? That feeling, that sense that you're just spinning your wheels, pouring out all this energy with nothing to show for it, well, that's what we're tackling today. We're going to dive into a really powerful way to stop that drain and get your focus back. Just let that one sit for a second. You're trying to control the weather. It's such a perfect way to put it, isn't it? It just perfectly captures that feeling of putting all our effort, all our mental energy into things that are totally, fundamentally outside of our influence. And what do we get for it? We just get exhausted. And that really begs the question, right? Why on earth do we do this to ourselves? We get stuck in these mental loops about things we can't change, worrying about the economy, or what other people think, or what might happen a week from now. And it just leaves us with absolutely nothing left in the tank for the stuff we can actually do something about. That's the core problem we're going to unpack. Okay, so let's really get into this whole idea of controlling the weather. What's the real cost of this habit? Because it's so much more than just feeling tired. It's almost like a form of theft from our own lives. See, this isn't just about being sleepy. The term for this is the cost of mental absence. And think about what that means. When your brain is constantly tied up worrying about stuff you can't fix, you aren't actually here. You're physically sitting in a meeting, but in your head, you're trying to predict the stock market. You're at the dinner table with your family, but your mind is thousands of miles away replaying some argument. You're basically a ghost in your own life, fighting a war you can't possibly win. So, if that's the problem, if we're just mentally absent, how do we get present again? Well, the answer might come from a really powerful concept in Japanese philosophy. It's called Shikata Ga Nai, and it's basically the art of radical acceptance. Shikata Ga Nai. It literally translates to "it cannot be helped." But let's be super clear about this. This is not a sigh of defeat. It's not giving up. It's a strategic, philosophical move. It's the practice of looking at a situation with total clarity and deciding, okay, this specific thing is outside of my control. It's about drawing a hard line in the sand between what is your responsibility and what is just the weather. And this slide, to me, is so important, because it just smashes the biggest myth about this whole idea. When you hear "it cannot be helped," it's easy to think of it as giving up, right? That just drains you. It's passive. But radical acceptance does the complete opposite. It liberates your energy from fights you can't win. It gets you laser focused on the actions you can take, and that is unbelievably empowering. I know this might still feel a little bit abstract, a little philosophical, so let's make it real. Let's talk about a professional named Hunter and a super simple but life-changing exercise he learned called the 2 circles. So this is Hunter. And from the outside, he seemed like a huge success. But on the inside, he was just being crushed by anxiety. He was actually having panic attacks, and they were all fueled by this constant worry about these huge, heavy things he had zero control over, like the entire economy and his job security. And the tool he was given was this almost ridiculously simple exercise. He just drew 2 circles. In the inner circle, he listed everything that was directly in his control, his own actions, how much effort he put in, how he responded to things. And in the outer circle, he put everything else: the economy, his boss's mood, you name it. A simple sorting exercise. And when Hunter actually honestly did this exercise, the result was just staggering. 90%. He realized that 90% of his mental and emotional energy was being poured into that outer circle. And this chart just shows you the sheer scale of the problem. I mean, look at that. Only a tiny 10% slice of his focus was on things he could actually change. The other 90% was just gone, vaporized, wasted on trying to control the uncontrollable weather. Think about what that means in a workday. That's like spending more than 7 hours just worrying. Of course he was having panic attacks. He was trying to run his entire life on only 10% of his power. Hunter's story isn't just a sad tale, though. It's a practical blueprint. So for our last section, let's talk about how we can take this idea and actually put it to work in our own lives, like right now. And you can literally do this today. Here's the 4-step game plan. First, identify your personal uncontrollable weather. What are the things that trigger your anxiety? Second, actually get out a piece of paper and draw the 2 circles. Third, be brutally honest with yourself and put your worries in the right spots. And fourth, and this is the most important part, you have to intentionally shift your focus. Just ask yourself, what is the one single action I can take right now on something in my inner circle. And that really leaves us with this final, powerful idea. Accept the inevitable so you can have the power to change the possible. That's the whole strategy in a nutshell. It's not about being naive or ignoring problems. It's about getting crystal clear on where to apply your strength. So the question I'll leave you with is this. What weather are you going to stop trying to control today?